Well, good evening, folks, and welcome to Restore Belief with Nikki. I'm Nikki Jacobs. So tonight, I wanted to talk about a number of factors. One being ETs, and of course the Govt. Oh, there's the hair. Okay, there we go. Get that out of there. There we go. All right. Anyway, got to do the little parts, Okay, so I was ET abducted on Friday and Saturday of last week. And it was the second one, the Saturday one, left me with a lovely little mark. And it's starting to finally disappear, so to speak. And it wasn't so fun. I woke up from the abduction very angry. That's not normal for me to wake up and to come back from an ET abduction where I am thoroughly pissed off. Not normal for me at all. And I, because of a number of realizations, but I also I had a situation over the weekend besides that, and that started triggering memories. So some of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight are ETs, the government connection to them, and other ETs that are not connected to the US government or any other government across this planet. Gonna get into some hefty stuff. Some of it not so much, some of it very much so. Because I'm starting to remember, hey, Woo Riders, welcome. Because I'm remembering more things, I want to be open about it. Early bird special tonight. Yeah, it is. For most folks that are in my chat, most folks know that I'm on at 12:15 in the morning. Usually Wednesday night into Thursday morning, or Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Because of what took place on Friday and Saturday for me, and then something else took place on Sunday, I needed it. It was pretty. Hey, Joe, East Coast, yes. Oh, so I wanted. Welcome. I'm glad you're able to be here. I wanted to be able to come and talk about this, but I needed the time to be able to digest and process what has taken place and what was done to me. This one was extremely triggering, especially Saturday night. Very much so. So much so that I hit a level I haven't hit with my emotions in a very long time. So when I talk about and state and claim that being an ET abductee is a process, I mean it. It can be a one incident process, or it can be a multi-level, many incidents process, or it can be a lifelong. So my point with all of this is that I want other ETs, abductees, to know, hey, Miss Princess Fancy Pants. Thank you. And Gayleen, thank you. I appreciate you guys coming in and backing me up and supporting me. It means a lot. More than I got to cut the emotions off or I'm really going to start to bawl. So what took place over last weekend was really hit me very hard. A lot harder than some of the other things that have hit me. And I love you too, dear one. I love you too. So I believe that as abductees, we need to come together and openly, if you're capable of, and it's safe enough for you to do so, openly talk about our abductions together and or talk together about our abductions. Some of us may not know each other. Others, as I have come to find out, in a way that we may only realize that we can't we may not even really recognize ourselves because of how the ETs and or US government is cutting the memories. Specific ETs are exceptionally good, extremely exceptionally, whatever word you want to use. They are exceptionally good at screwing with the brain and deliberately making it so that we have a hard time remembering. They're incredibly good. There are a couple of people in my chat right now that could probably give you chapter and verse in what part of the brain is specifically affected regarding those kind of memories and how it's really done. But it's deliberate. And then you've got ETs and military that can create screen memories. And screen memories are a form of false memories. And it's done that way to not only protect what they are doing, but it's also to somewhat protect your own life, no matter what we think of it, no matter what we feel of that, statement of it, protection, because it's very maniacal, in my opinion. And that is my opinion. I know other abductees that are like, it's fine. I'd rather not know and just live my life. I'm sorry. I'm one of those that do want to know. And in learning, so I've specifically, hello to the 8 that are watching. Thank you so much for coming and listening. I very much appreciate you all being here, and I very much appreciate the folks that are in chat and those that watch the replay. Thank you. So I want us to all be able to come together and to have a place that is safe enough to talk. Granted, it's not private, but you can say certain things in here and it's fine. But if you're disrespectful in any way, you're gone. I've already had 3 people that I've had to block, and I despise blocking people. Really dislike that. But when it becomes a really negative and detrimental to everyone in chat, and to me, I will not put up with that. So just an FYI. You are more than welcome to make comments. My chat is open for you guys. I want us to be able to come together and have a community to where we can openly express our feelings, but with respect to everybody. And it's fine joking around. Most people know that I've got a pretty weird sense of humor. So what I find funny, other people may not. So I'm just putting that out there. Just be respectful of other folks, please. That said, oh yes, like Woo Writer says, toe tap the like button. Yeah, please do. It helps the algorithms, and it means a lot. It really does mean a lot to me. There are even some things that science hasn't figured out, but they try so hard. Yes, I agree, Princess Fancy Pants. Yes, I totally agree. As for others, yes, it's a perfect science of physical, psychological, physiological twisting damages. Yes, it is. And boy, is it frustrating. And that's why I got so angry. Because the last time I was that angry, instantaneously after an abduction being returned from an ET abduction, I literally jumped out of bed, which for me is almost statistically impossible to do. But that tells you how severe the oh crap, I just had it in my head, now it's gone. Adrenaline. That's how severe the adrenaline in me was. I literally popped right up out of bed and I started going after them. And of course, you can't see them, but they're standing right there. And I had marks on my arms because they basically put hands on me, and I had well, I used to say 3, but I have since realized that I actually had 4 people and 4 ETs around me. I had 1 on each arm, which they left marks for, and I didn't register that I needed to take pictures of that because that would have been my documentation, my proof. I had finger marks. I had 1 in front of me and 1 behind me, and I was screaming at them, telling them, if I ever get my hands on a hatchet, I'm going to cut your I'm going to cut you to pieces. I'm going to cut you to ribbons, because I was so angry. When I woke up this time on Saturday, after they immediately brought me back, I was that angry, but I wasn't jumping up. And it wasn't until I had gone to the bathroom and was washing my hands that I saw a triangle. And I'm going to make this public. There's only 2 people that have known what I stated about this. I have never, because I love seeing tattoos on people. I'm not a tattoo person myself. I don't have them on me. But I do have ET marks on me. And I've got, I still have I don't know if that's even viewable, but there's this little mark right here. I don't know if it's viewable, but anyway, that's where they took a nice little skin graft out of me about a month and a half ago, and I was pissed about that because I knew immediately it would leave a mark, and it was a skin graft. And why do they need a skin? Well, that's medical. That's a totally different medical reason. But this lovely little effer on my thumb is blatant. It was right in my face, and it really pissed me off. And it meant that depending upon how they did it, what device they specifically used, it's going to last with me the rest of my life, or it's going to stick around to make a point to me. And at that given moment in time, I was like, you gave me an ET tramp stamp. Now, I have never once called tattoos tramp stamps. I think that is demoralizing. And for me to even, which tells you how pissed off I was. Because I think that's just a very nasty and rude statement, tramp stamp, regarding tattoos. And this this was. So for me to make that statement to them, when I was washing my hands, I was yelling. I was in my bathroom yelling. I was like, "You damn effers, you left me with a goddamn tramp stamp." And that's not normally how I think of things. That's not normally my, but I mean, it just, I was already pissed off and already really, we hit a rage mode, and that doesn't happen for me very often. It's extremely rare. So, and I love, oh my God, there are so many phenomenal tattoo artists. I love seeing them. I just can't get, I've always wanted, there was a specific kind of one that I've always wanted, but I can't get myself to do it. And it has to do with the needles going into 3 layers of skin. I have a hard time with that. And I have a hard time with, but that's fine for somebody else. So on top of it, I think the other race of ET that take me, the ones that took me on Friday, I think they've got a very specific reason why. Because anytime I have even approached a tattoo shop, tattoo parlor, there are times I've gone in and I'll just start, perusing the different files they've got and the different pictures, and I love it. And then it's like my brain gets triggered in a specific way, and the only thing that I can think of is that specifically has to do with ETs. And I'm like, why is it that you don't want my skin? What is it about that? So I'm thinking there's something medical that they don't want with it. And it happens every single, and I do mean every time. Even though I've got the needle thing, I'm not a well, that's a great idea. I'll read that in just a minute. So I think it's one of their triggers in a control, and that is something that they can do. They have the ability to literally put a lock on the brain to where if you're thinking about your ET abduction or you're thinking about certain things, they can literally put a trigger point in the brain to where they can stop you from thinking. And I'm like, that's a whole nother mind F. The ability to be able to screw with the human brain in that capacity. Whoa, hello, what just happened with my lighting? That's interesting. So anyhow, it makes a difference. They are very, very devious, in my opinion, in how they do it. Any ETs that can do that, that's devious. That's really, really devious. And really maniacal, very manipulative, and in my opinion, quite wrong. And I fight against it. That all said, how it all relates to government. So I have witnessed ETs standing, talking with, walking down hallways, being on lifts, what I was told were lifts. I tried to say that they were an elevator. I got corrected hardcore by an ET, no less, an 8-foot tall, very reptilian-like with bent backward legs. Well, it was just one of the ETs that I saw on board that ship. I've seen them talking with US military, men and women in full uniform with the insignias and the credentials and blah blah, blah on their sleeves on their arms and up at their, I can't. Anyway, those that are military, you know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay. So I know, based on my own experiences, and I know you've only got my experiences to go off of, and there's no real reason why you should even believe me. That's fine. I get that. I understand that. If I hadn't have gone through this, I don't know, quite honestly, I'd be questioning things too. I only learned recently that, and I've been consistently told for a number of years, that I'm part of the MiLabs program. I was like, don't think I am. And now I'm like, oh, holy effing yeah. So that has hit me very, very hard. I now know some of what I have been doing involved in that. I know that the Super Soldier program is very effing real. Very real. I questioned it for a long time. My gut instinct knew it was real, but I even questioned my own gut instinct because I'm like, how? And then the 20 and back, I can't even begin to express. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. But yet I know that some of that is very real. I know that I was put in a position where I have been on ET devices and working with people that call themselves super soldiers. I've never called them super soldiers. I've always called them soldiers. I'm having memories. I'm having flashbacks of memories. I'm having flashbacks of tiny memories. I'm breaking through a lot of the crap that they've done on my own brain. I don't even know how to express or explain how I'm doing that. But I am breaking through some of it. And it's time to start remembering, and it's time to start bringing this shit out into the open. And I know other people are doing it. I know other soldiers who are doing it, who are openly talking. Thank you for the true, honest ones that are talking. Thank you for your courage to express what you've experienced. That is a gigantic deal. But also know, based on what has already happened to me, it's going to make you even more of a target, because they're going to try to sequester you even further and try to shut you down even further. But this kind of thing needs to be openly discussed. What I talked about last week, and where one of my spirit guides specifically told me, you've got FBI watching because you literally said trafficking of children and abduction of children. Well, you want to look into something? Look into why are the government working with ETs who are taking children. You want to get into a subject? You want to talk about trafficking? Start delving into your own government and find out why. They've been using kids. I know people that have talked about the 50s. I know people that have talked about the 60s and 70s. As kids, as teenagers, as young adults. Why the hell is the US government doing that, working with ETs who are specifically abducting kids? Not okay. Not okay. So, I haven't looked at chat in a while. Oh, hey, Drew. Oh, thank you for coming in. I hope you get some good rest. Princess Fancy Pants, this stuff has been occurring much longer than we think. I know for sure, but it's so old. Yeah, I don't know, Princess Fancy Pants, if you have heard what I've talked about regarding the government, US government book that I got my hands on, unexpectedly got my hands on when I was 18, 19 years old. And yeah, thank you. And have talked about that. That's one of those things that you should probably go back through one of my live broadcasts, or something that we can actually, you and I can actually privately talk about, because to give you a rundown, if you don't want to go through all of that, but in the videos, but what they had in documentation went back to 1932, 1933. And everybody talks about, oh, it's 1947, it's 1946. So it's quite the ordeal. Anyway, but I have witnessed different levels from childhood all the way through teenage years, all the way through adulthood, and into, because I'm 56 now. My ET abductions, as far as my memories go back to age 4. I've been told that they have watched me while I was in utero, in my mother's womb. And that's a really that's a really a kind of a big thing, say the least. And some of us are getting abducted by more than one race of ET for different purposes. I only in the last year made the realization and memory, full memory, or well, almost full memory, of being abducted in a vehicle with my mother. And when I asked my mother if she knew, I lost her ever living shit over it. She remembered it. And I got told later that she and I had more abductions together. That's a hard one. That's a really hard one for me. And it leads me into question how many other family members have been taken with me. How many other family members have been taken on their own? I start asking questions because I know I'm not the only one now. For sure, I know I'm not the only one now. I thought maybe I was the only person in my family who was abducted, ET abducted. And I'm not. And I know that with one race of ET, it boils down to genetics. There's a specific genetic reason why I'm taken, why my mother is taken. And anyway, I got asked in 2019 to come on because of what I did to protect myself from government asshats who were trying to obtain information from me in a psychic way, doing a form of psychic rape, because that's what they're doing. It is a form of psychic rape. And when they found out that I could do what I could do in protection of myself, they wanted me to teach them, to come on board with them and to train them, and they wanted to know how I do things. I didn't know how I do things. I know now. I don't know all of it, but I know now. And a huge portion of that comes from the ETs. Growing up around them, being taught by them, being taught to use my God-given abilities, psychic abilities, energetic abilities. And it's runs in my family. Psychics run in my family. It was, I mean, they didn't talk about it because, as my grandmother used to say to me, you talk about it, you get put in the crazy house. They'll lock you up. Well, for her, she told me she got beaten. So I can't imagine what the rest of the family. I got told some pretty significant things about my great grandfather, regarding him being a kind of a rod and staff Baptist preacher, and how he dealt with his children. So I can understand where my grandmother was coming from regarding keeping her mouth shut and insisting that I do the same. I get it. When you're raised around those kinds of stories, and it's interesting that only the women in that family talked about it. So, but going back to the government stuff, why would they allow children to be taken? Well, they're being taken to be used. I've now had memories. I've felt it in my body for a number of years that I used to fly ships. I now have memories of flying ships. And that was the other thing that really hit me hard over the weekend, was one of those memories. And I made a realization of why I love certain things in the Olympics during certain seasons of the Olympics. So like in the Winter Olympics, I love bobsledding. Well, I don't personally do bobsledding, but I've always wanted to. My entire existence on this planet, I've always wanted to do bobsledding. I've always loved roller coasters. I've always loved the speed, and now I understand why. Because it reminds my physical body, the muscle memories that I have of driving ET ship as a child. And it was very specific. I have a very specific higher consciousness memory of the ETs who were working with government and how they were training us as children, as teenagers, as young adults, and as adults and as senior adults. There are many different levels, and one of the things that I got told by them was that when we cut off your consciousness versus your higher consciousness, you're faster, you're, how do I say this without it being crass? They're better able to control you, but yet at the same time, you have the speed in which they need. And it's excuse me, it's incredible in how they go about it and in how they teach and train these children. So, but what is the point of them teaching and training these children, now adults, for speed, for technicality, for ability to fire weapons? I have memories of standing next to human military men, and they're in full uniform, while standing next to ETs, 7, 8, 9 foot tall ETs. What did I have in my hand? ET militaristic type weapons. I've fired them. I have muscle memories in my hands and arms, shoulders, and my back. So it's incredible to me how our government, now I'm living in the United States. I know Canada has got some kind of program because I've seen the uniforms. I know that Russia does. I know that China does. I don't know what kind they do, but I know England very much does. England is the British. Oh my God. Between the United States and the British government, oh my God. They're big with the ETs. As a matter of fact, I'm having stomach issues right now because I brought up Canada, US, and England. Wow. Okay. Like, it's to the point where I almost want to vomit. So yeah, it's a really big deal, folks. We are not told. We're not told for safety reasons. Publicly, I get that. But there are things that do need to be talked about. There are things that are vital to be discussed. But yet at the same time, there are things that should not be discussed. Do I know names of commanders? Yeah, I can feel it in my body and in my head, but I can't get it from my brain to my mouth no matter how many times I try. And that has to do with the ET way of controlling the human brain. Don't believe me? Talk to other ET abductees who know that they are part of some kind of program, and they go to talk about it, and their own brain gets shut down. So they're very, very good at screwing with the human brain. It's very manipulative, very maniacal, and in my opinion, quite vile. And it's all for their own devices, their own militaristic reasons. And do I think that the US Congress should have knowledge even if it's in a, oh crap, I can't think of it. I just had the word and now it's gone. Where they sequester a group of senators. I can't think of what that's called. In a, not a rift, I cannot think of the name of it. Anyway, the point is that I do believe that yes, the US Congress should know about very specific aspects of this. I think it's quite vital. Do I think that the entire Congress should know? I think that could cause even more problems. But I do believe that there should be senators who are informed in a major way. Somebody just, that wasn't my dad. I can't think of the name. One of my guides just said funding. There's a reason why there's private funding of these programs. And I'm saying it, I'm using the word private. But it's like corporate funding. It's like things that they've made and created, built, that are out on the market, things that we have, sales of items, things like that. To where they, sorry guys, I've got an ice pack on my back and my back's really bothering me right now. So there are things that need to be fully talked about. That do need to be functional. I get safety and security. I'm a girl that's typically all about safety and security, and for damn good reason, especially now after the kind of targeting that I've experienced, with energy weapons being directed at me, trying to make me ill in a very, very sick, twisted way. Because I've talked openly about that book. And if they continue, there's 3 chapters in what I call chapters. They're not chapters, but I don't know what else to call them. But there's 3 chapters I have said I will not talk about because it does create, in my opinion, a safety and security risk. I'll start talking about the 1 chapter that I put into the other 2, and I'll start naming names because I've got it in my own head, in my own memories, every single name on every single document. Don't fuck with me. I make no bones about it. I will start talking. So back off. And I know what I just did. It's going to mean even more of a target. I get that. But I'm not. I'll state every name. Now, granted, quite a few of those names, quite a few of those people are dead. They're long dead. Don't care why they died. Don't give 2 shits why they died. But names, I mean, even presidents' names are on there. I mean, that's not anything new. That's not anything out of the ordinary. Why would I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the senators or the military. I can't think of what they're called. Different branches of the military. The different names going all the, somebody just said generals. Yeah, it wasn't just generals. It was, I mean, we're talking really high up. All the way down the line. Because they're still in my head. You know, because the targeting that the government asshats tried with me, I've got those memories locked down. I got trained by one of your own MFers in how to lock down my memories so that you can't access them. My loved one wanted to be sure that I would live. And he was one of your own. So you F with me, you're going to be effing with him. And he's on the other side now, taken out by a different government. That's the first time I've ever said that publicly. So, And yeah, I know. Because he came to me before he ever came to his own handlers to let them know to go get his body. So yeah, thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Couldn't think of what the hell they were called. So basically, I make no bones about it. I do believe that many of these programs need to be talked about. There are some that I don't believe should be talked about. I think that those are security issues. These, what I'm talking about right now, in my opinion, not security issues. But I also get that somebody's going to say, well, that's not your call. You're just some peon. That's what I say to that. Every abductee has a right to know what the F has gone on with them. It's their bodies. We do not belong to you. We are not owned by you. We are individual human beings that have rights. And you have stripped those rights from us by forcing us into these things. These are not soul contracts. That I know. The other ETs, that's a soul contract for me. I get that. I get why I'm having hybrid children and why I've got over 26 of them. I get that. That's a genetic thing. Totally understand that. Sometimes I don't like it. Sometimes I get really pissed off over it. I get that. That's fine. That's on me. This is what was not on me. This was not a soul contract. And that's where I draw the effing line. And I'm pissed over it. And I have every right to be. And so should every ET abductee that is being forced to work in. You're stealing us. You're not just stealing us, you're doing mind rape. You're doing things to our bodies. You're doing things to our higher consciousness against our will, against what we own, what we personally believe, what we personally want. It is a form, a very, very vile and vicious form of rape. It is a rape in every sense of the word. It's not just a physical form of rape, a violation of the body. It is a form of psychic rape. It is a form of mind rape. There are many different levels of it. And that is where I say you're full of shit. And that is why I want certain aspects of this to come out openly more, because this is where the governments of this planet need to make it mandatory, because you are the ones who have fucked all of us up. This is where it needs to be mandatory that there is counseling, because you're the ones who have triggered this shit. You're the ones who have caused the problems, and you are the ones who are creating all the issues that are the psychological, the physical, every aspect of this. And there needs to be proper counseling for all of these abductees who are experiencing this shit through the government, who are working with ETs. You're creating what is now called complex post-traumatic stress disorder. You are creating it. Well, then it's about goddamn time that you do something right and start openly making it so, and I'm shaking, making it so that there is proper medical treatment and proper psychological treatment for those that need it, because you're creating post-traumatic stress disorder. Very complex, too, I might add. So, get your goddamn act together, governments of this planet, and make it so that you've got 2 or possibly even up to 5 different levels of dealing with abductees who have CP, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, that you created. The psychiatrists and psychologists of this planet, of this world, need to be allowed to treat people so that they can get through the emotional damage that you have caused. Okay, I haven't been in chat in a while. That's not just my opinion. I've talked to other abductees, and they're like, I can't have a conversation. I know I need to be in counseling. I can't have a conversation with a psychologist because they're going to think I'm stark raving Looney Tunes. Yeah, they'll lock you up. You know, abductees do not need to be locked up. They need to be allowed to express in a way that is safe for them to be able to go through and process, because it is a process, going through what they remember and getting the help and the treatment they need. I'm not talking about unlocking memories. I'm talking simply about the trauma that you are creating. And you are creating trauma. And that is unacceptable, especially when you're starting with children. So if the FBI is listening, start delving into your own goddamn government. If the CIA is listening, like I give 2 shits, but if they are, you know what? Get a little deeper, because it may not be within your community. It may be in a section of government that you know nothing about. But be careful and watch your back, because it can get you really injured, if not killed, unalived. So be careful when you do your own research and who you talk to, because you don't know, you may not know who actually is part of this large conglomeration. And somebody literally just gave me those words. Large conglomeration. Large conglomerate is the words that they used. So, yeah, I know, Drew. I was thinking the same thing. He was saying, I'm surprised it hasn't gone haywire yet with the stream. It's because they want to see what I'm going to say. Because I made no bones about what I was going to talk about today. I made it very clear what I was going to be talking about and how this all relates. Yes, it is very deep. And there are people that know, and families who know. You know, there are Nikki, and you have powerful friends. Yes, actually I do, and I'm very, very freaking thankful for them, because I think that they are probably why I'm still alive, to be quite honest. And because of the other side, I've got very, very powerful other side family and friends on the other side, and a number of angels. And I've had God himself tell me, which let me tell you, that was a whole mind F, hardcore, where I'm supposed to be alive. I'm supposed to be alive for a long, 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 long time. And I'm supposed to be talking about this. So this is going to be talked about as much as I possibly can. And if we can make changes, then let's make positive changes. Every little step is a step towards advancing certain aspects of this in a good way. I have been a proponent of getting abductees, getting those who are abductee, especially those who are ET combined US government or any government abductee, the care that they need, whether that's medical or psychological, because this is a hell of a mind fuck. I'm just going to be blunt. It is a hell of a mind F. And there needs to be true, proper care and treatment. And I'm not talking like, oh, lock them away kind of treatment. I'm not talking about put them in a institution or something like that. I'm specifically saying, look, where this is going to make a difference is in the psychology world, is in the psychiatric world, to where it is no longer considered, you're no longer considered nuts and crazy. Well, some major changes have to take place in order for that to happen. Some major things have to take place. It's all part and parcel to the process. Part and parcel to the process. It's really important to get the right care. And it's very invasive and very insidious. That was the word I was looking for. The whole situation is extremely insidious because of how they are dealing with the brain. Now, when a person, when an abductee of that nature gets the kind of psychological counseling and medical treatment that they need because of whatever devices that have been implanted in them, because of whatever's been done to the brain, could it potentially open up memories? Yeah, because you're in the process of healing. Now, here's the other side of it. How many times have you as an abductee, no matter what kind of abductee you are, have you made the statement out loud and in your own head, I want to know? Well, be careful with that statement. Because how much do you really want to know? Me personally, I want to know it all. I want to know all of it. I have memories that I can describe to you, but I don't know what all they mean. I have memories of being sequestered in a room with other people, very few other people, and we are essentially the version of controllers with, they're not electrical device, they're ET devices, and on my screen just went wonky. Somebody tell me that you can still hear me. Somebody in chat, please tell me that you can still hear me. Because something just happened on my screen. I don't know if I'm still live or not. Still okay. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Wow, that was a true trip. Anyway, so when you make a statement of wanting to know the information, one of the things that I have learned, even of myself, in making that statement, be very specific. Yeah, it was like a zapping of devices, Drew. That's exactly what it was like. Zoom and then back. I was like, whoa, the whole thing, the whole screen just was gone and back again. and it was extremely fast. Anyway, my point is that when you are making that statement to yourself, be real specific what you want to know. Because for me, I've wanted to know all of it. And then I made the realization, okay, it's got to be in the way that I can handle it bit by bit by bit. And that's exactly what's starting to happen with me. That is exactly what's starting to happen with me. I'm having more and more triggers, but at a point in my life where it's safe for me to have those triggers. I would not have been able to do some of the healing that I'm working on right now if this had been during the time when I was raising my son, where we were a family, and it just, this would not have, no. I thank God for the, and I've got somebody here right now. It's a guy. And my spidey senses just went off the charts. Wow. Holy crap. Whoa. God. All right. Dude, you need to back off. Have a seat on the couch. I'll get to you after I deal with this. Wow. Holy cripes. Anyway, be careful what you say to yourself and what you want to know and what you want to learn. Because you can have, just because they've got a lock and a block on your memories, doesn't mean that that lock and block has to stay. It's your brain. Think about that. You may, yeah, dinner for two. No. I've had a dinner with ghosts. It's nothing new. That's a whole nother subject as a psychic medium. Anyway, my point is that be very careful with how you word it. Write it down how you want to word it. Make it to where it's in the positive, it's futuristic, but it's also now. And make it to where you word it to where you can handle the information, even if it's bit by little bit at a time. And that's what's happening with me. My brain is unlocking different different memories of what I've experienced. So what I was going to say before is that I've physically been in rooms, sequestered in a room with ET devices, and where I am giving information to what people call super soldiers. And that's been really hard for me to even acknowledge in myself, because to recognize that I'm one of those people, I'm one of those safety people that they rely on. I may not be in that position anymore because I'm openly talking about it. Do I give two shits? No. Are they still going to use me? Probably, but in some other part of the program. Do I care? Right now, no. They piss me off. I get to the point where I hit rage with them. Because I think what they're doing is wrong. And I just got told by my dad that's not what I think when I'm in the process of doing it. That's fine. That's in a different form of me. In my living body, right here, right now, in my consciousness. I don't believe it's right. So and it explains a lot to me as to why I've been very protective about children. It explains to me why I became an advocate for over 20 years. Did it solidly for 18 and then started coming down. And at the 20-year mark and 21-year mark is when I really stopped. And then I started picking it back up again in different ways. But nothing like what I was doing for 18 to 20 years, 18 to 21 years. Anyway, so a lot of this, it explains a lot of my life and why I was so drawn and have been drawn to different sports, to different things. Thank you, Amy. She just said, I think what they are doing is despicable. I'll say it on the record here. I agree with you, Amy. I completely agree. I think it's demoralizing. I think it's despicable. I think it's insidious. And they are fully invested. Government is fully invested in this, and they probably will be for a very, very long time. But there are needs of us who are ET government abductees. And those needs need to start being met. And those needs are psychological counseling to go through the process of getting through the emotion of it, of becoming healthier, of becoming better in our own lives, because we're recognizing what's taking place. That, do you know how many people could unalive themselves because of what they make realizations for as to what's happened to them? That's not okay. I'm sorry. I'm not a proponent of that. I mean, I get why people do it. I get it. But it's really not good on the soul. It's not good on the body, but that's beside the point. But it's really not good on the soul. Your soul comes back in a different way, and then you have to relearn. Why would you want to go through over and time again having to relearn that it's part of a process? You got to process this shit out to become healthier. I mean, yeah, I know that there are aspects of this shit that I need counseling for. But what counselor's going to touch me with a 10-foot frickin' pole when you state ET Abductee? Oh, why are you here for? Oh, let's see, I got to talk about this, I need to talk about that, and it all comes down to this. You're nuts. You're this, you're that. We're going to put you on an antipsychotic. Bullshit. I fought long and hard. I've been through some really excellent counseling. Thank God for it, because if I hadn't gone through that counseling, I honestly don't know where I would have been now. To be quite blunt, I don't know if I would have been here if I had not have gone through the counseling that I did in the 1990s. And thank you. If you ever see, I had 2 counselors that love you guys to pieces. You have helped me so much in so many. Oh my God, I'm going to start bawling. The techniques that you used and the techniques that you taught me. Because of those techniques and those methods, it has allowed me to get through so many aspects of my regular life of just basic living. And because of those techniques, it has allowed me to get through last weekend Thank you. Thank you. If you ever see this, thank you. I can't even begin to say thank you enough. It got me through. And it's because of that counseling that I'm able, in a much healthier fashion and form, to deal with getting through what I'm getting through now. Ugh. Speaking of which, and toilet paper. The eyeballs are going to start. It's really hard and difficult to handle this stuff. It really, really is. But it can be done. It can be done. God. So, the way that the government is doing this kind of stuff and dealing, I'm not 100% sure. I will probably learn more and more in how it's done, because I'm remembering more. But for them to take children, I have memories of being 8 years old and having, talked about it last time too. It gets me every time because I'm still trying to process it. And then the adult in me kicks in and I want to go after the MFer. I have a memory of a man, military man in uniform, using what I can only call a cattle prod on me because I was, quote unquote, too defiant for your own good, end quote, because I wouldn't do what they wanted me to do. That's not okay. I don't know what they do now. I don't have a clue as to what they do with kids nowadays. But back in the 70s, that's what they did. I was 8 years old. Electricity, being essentially electrocuted at 8 years old. Do I want that man dead? Yes. But that's the little kid in me, and that's the adult in me. I'm still processing. Will I eventually say no? But I want to meet him and beat the living fuck out of him. Yeah, because that's the anger and the rage in me. But I will eventually process that out and let it go. Because that's how I am. That's how I process stuff. That's how I work through things. I know how, because I don't believe in holding on to that. If you hold on to all of that anger and rage and extreme hurt and the rape, the whether it's a physical rape or they're removing something from your body, or they're doing a forced mind rape, a psychic forced mind rape, or forcing your higher consciousness to split. And they divide it. I've actually had memories of the US government with ET use a device to subdivide out the higher consciousness. I have been told by certain ET abductees that that's full of shit. I'm like, then why the hell am I remembering it? This is not a false memory. This is not a screen memory. This is what I remember. And then I was allowed to remember more, even more than that. And I was told how they did it. And it's a device that is put over the third eye on the forehead. And it divides itself out into 3 or 4 parts, 3 that I am aware of, 3 that I have been shown. One device stays over the third eye, over the forehead. The other section of device is held by a controller ET who stands behind you, usually behind you, and keeps track of that controller and how it's being used. And the middle device is the subconsciousness taken out. And you're still connected soul-wise with that higher consciousness, but it's taken out and put on ship, on board the ET ship, ET or ET human ship. And then that form of higher consciousness, yeah, there are clones. And I've made the realization that, yeah, this clone bodies have been used for a long, longer than I ever had a clone body. I've got 3 clone bodies, 32, 34, and 36 years old. And the way I know which body I'm in is because how low or high my breasts are, and how the weight on my body, and the muscle. Because at 36 years old, the muscle tone is different in comparison to 32 years old versus 34 years old. And each one of them, the breasts are either raised or larger. How else do you say that? And I'm very blunt about it. I don't give two diddly shits as to who knows that. But that's how I know which body I'm in, and that they've kept my physical body here at home or wherever I'm located at that given moment in time, and where they've taken my higher consciousness and put it in. I've woken up standing, walking onto a platform with another ET abductee and with an ET standing next to me, not 6 inches from me. So I know that it's being done. I was on a mission at that time. And when I came back, my higher consciousness came back into my, and you don't dream. That's the other thing. When they use that device on you, you do not dream. There is no dream whatsoever. So I don't know exactly how that aspect of it works. But yes, Amy, that's correct. She says, oh, this makes sense now. These nations, Canada, US, UK, Russia, and others all work together on these projects. Yes, they do. They're all invested. They're all involved in it. Not every government on this planet is doing it, but all the big ones are. All the big players are involved. Every freaking one of them are involved in some fashion or form. Typically what I've seen are US, but I have seen other military uniforms, and I've never talked about the other military uniforms with anybody. This is the very first time I've ever stated any of that. This is the very first time I've ever coming out even publicly and stating that. I have described the device over the forehead before. You'd have to go back in and figure out which which broadcast it was. You'd have to go through the not the chat, the where I list off the timestamps, because I make sure that I timestamp my live broadcast, because so much is talked about that in a lot of programs, a lot of people's shows, they do not do that. They do not. Sorry, I was checking the time. It's 8:20 p.m. Pacific time. They do not. And I just lost it because of dealing with the time. Anyway, the thing is, Yeah, embedded in the 1960s. Yeah. So the clones, I know they've been doing clones for, I think, in the 70s and 80s. I know others that believe it's in the 60s. That's a totally different ballgame. I've actually seen my clone bodies in, I was just about to call it gel stasis, but I've seen my clone bodies in stasis while this morbidly obese body has been on board a ship. I've actually walked by rooms and stopped and stood and stared at an open doorway that had containers of human clones in them. And there are devices. Some had devices attached to them, some did not. I don't quite understand that. I don't understand the science of that aspect of it, but that's what I've seen. I know they're tagged. Bagged and tagged is how I think of it. But I've never actually seen tags that I can remember right now on. Thank you, Amy, for doing the ... That really helps get it above the little heart symbol. Really helps a lot. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not going to read that out loud, but I understand what you're talking about. So it's, but I know that they're tagged there, and I say bagged, but I've seen them actually upright. How do I say this? I've seen them where they've been upright. I don't understand how they can be upright, but I've seen them upright. I've seen them in a fetal position, and I've seen them, lack of better terminology, laying down. Princess Fancy Pants. Good night. Replay later. Gotta rest. Yeah. Oh man, I remember those days. Yeah. Go do what you need to go do, dear. Thank you so much for. Oh my God. Thank you guys for showing up in my chat and supporting me, and that means a great deal. Means a heck of a lot. I've been saying for the last couple of days that in order to get Streamyard, because I don't have the extra $20 or $30 a month to do Streamyard, I need a financial backer that can actually pay for that once a year for me. At least 2 or 3 years worth of it, so that I can have guests come on and talk with me and do the camera, and we can make all kinds of projects and things on video. But anyway, yeah, I need a financial benefactor in order for that to take place. But anyway, and not control the show, just be the financial benefactor and let their name be known if their name wants to be known as the benefactor. And oh my God, that would be huge. Anyway, but yeah, it's just, this is a huge mind F. It is a huge, huge deal in how all of this is part of a bigger situation. Much bigger situation. There are reasons, and some extremely excellent reasons, why there are super soldiers. What other people call super soldiers, who I just call soldiers. And then there are reasons where it's like, oh, seriously, that needs to be talked about. I mean, there are reasons we need to have a form of, and I don't like to use the word disclosure anymore because I think that's such bullshit. There are many levels of disclosure. There are many levels of coming out and having conversations about, I did read that, Amy. or I did catch it anyway. And we do need to have conversations. The community needs to be, the media needs to be involved. But the media is so controlled, and that's my own personal opinion based on what I have personally witnessed and based on what I have seen out of Seattle a few years ago and what journalists were actually saying in Seattle about the different corporations that they were working for. It was a hell of a mind opener. It actually confirmed to me personally as to how much control they actually have with their reporting versus what they are and are not allowed to report on. So I find that fascinating as well. So, and I know a couple of journalists that say, well, that's bullshit. No, it's not. When you have current journalists who are making statements like that publicly and other people are reporting on it because it made news here. I mean, it was big news here in the Seattle region for quite some time, and then everything got shut down. I mean, you didn't hear another effing word about it. I still now have a hard time finding those articles that were written about this and those quotes that were quoted from those journalists. It's like they've hidden the information, and I'm like, oh man. So it has been talked about. You can say till you're blue in the face, but I've seen it. I've heard them actually on camera make statements, and I've read the articles. As much as they want to try and put a kibosh on it, as much as they want to lay claim that it doesn't happen. So, yeah, bunny factor. Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, this has been what took place last weekend, and the memories of it, and the memories of other ET abductions. That's why I say this is a process. It takes a while to figure out how all of this plays into a person's life. It takes a while to go from here to step by step by step, little bit of step at a time. So I want people to register that this really is taking place. Yeah, I understand you mean. This is taking place. ET abductions are happening, whether it's by ETs themselves or ETs that are working with military, whatever government that whatever country you're living in. This needs to be talked about. And you don't hear very often about people describing very specific things. There are aspects of US government, British government, and Canadian government where they are some of the political stuff regarding the three different countries. That's a big deal. These countries are working with corporations, conglomerates, some very, very well-known conglomerates who are part of the space race. I just heard that. Somebody just said, damn, I lost the third word. It was space race. I can't grab it. Space Race Recon. So yeah, there is recon out there regarding what's taking place. Well, there's a lot of other things that I do want to talk about, but it's now 8:30. I'm going to go back through chat and then see if there's any questions or anything that I missed. And see if there's anything else that needs to be talked about. Time constraints can confirm some of it. Family history with these programs, and they have destroyed some of the science is still used today. Yeah, I agree with that. Abducted for science reasons, yes, agree with that. Yeah, one of the worst things in life is this is somebody had written this in chat. One of the worst things in life is experiencing something major with someone who simply will never recall or help, validate, listen, because they're going through their programming or programs. Let's see, because they have developed in different ways, Nikki. Joint Chiefs of Staff, yes. Righteous anger isn't the same as being petty or dramatic, that's for sure. Yeah, true, I agree with that. I've seen Nikki vent about this stuff. Truman started it, I think, or Eisenhower. I think that it's a desperate act to save a race of something, but we've known that through the whole saga of Anunnaki, Nephilim. We're dealing with the, oh God, I can't even pronounce this, Igigi, creatures and humans. Yeah. I've never, that's still not even the correct pronunciation. For those that just joined, I'm reading chat. I want to see if there's anything else before I end here tonight. Nephilim go back to biblical days. This is a very good question. Why can't, okay, hang on. I got to scroll up just a moment. And why can't they breed like a type of us that are only meant to be working with them? I mean, why us, everyday normals? That's something I just cannot figure out. I fully agree. You know, there are some races that are not, for whatever reason, and if they've done it to themselves, they're not able to breed. So they need other genetics to be able to use as a base genetic to then what I call splice and dice. I've seen that. I've actually seen the ET scientists. That's a tough one for me to say tonight. But anyway, the ET scientists, I've actually seen them do what I call the splicing and dicing. I'm trying to remember because I'm trying to remember how old I was because it was like looking up at a counter. I had to have been about 6 or 7 years old, but I've seen them do it. I've actually been in I have memories of being in what we would call a science lab. And this is the race of ET that I have been abducted by, that does the genetic splicing and dicing to create human hybrids, or human ET hybrids. I have memories of that. I have not delved fully into those memories because I get too overloaded, not overwhelmed, but overloaded in the amount of because I have a photographic memory, and I remember everything, especially at that age. Oh my God. I basically have to section my memories down so that when I start to enlarge the entire view of that room that I was in, and how many different ETs, were in the room, what they were all doing, all the different things up on the what I call the wall. It's not a wall, it's essentially a screen. But it's how they were splicing and dicing the genetic material. And I got told how it was done. Now, can I repeat what was told to me? I probably can, but I haven't been able to get back into that full memory of everything I was told. The little kid in me was overwhelmed. And I do mean overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed with information. But the memories that I want to hold on to the most are watching them doing this, what I call the splicing and dicing, listening. Oh, well, that's interesting. I just had a memory of one of the ETs is like a father figure to me. Still is. He's still alive. And he was still is very protective of me. And I probably will always think of him as an ET father. He's not biologically, but he has been very, very protective of me while I've been on board ship. Since I've been really little, really, really, really little. 4 years old I can't get beyond that one memory because every time I do, I emotionally lose it as the adult. But sounds like sirens are starting to go by on the busy street not far from me. Anyway, so being in that laboratory, that lab room with him while he was doing some kind of genetic splicing and dicing, I don't know exactly what it was, but I remember his hands working really, really, really fast. It was like, and he's what I would call, or what we would typically refer to as, a tall white. They are not white. They are gray in appearance. They've got the ET gray head. They do not have black eyes when they are on board their ship. The black eyes are it's like a skin or a protective layer for when they come off ship onto on planet. I won't be going on for very much longer about any of this, but because I know that another show is going to start at 9. But anyway, and people can listen to the replay for afterwards. But anyway, it's a black film that goes up into their skull, down into their eye, and around. It wraps around. It's kind of like it's like a protective barrier. They just literally pull it right. And I am here to tell you, it is creepy as F watching them pull. I still can't. Just, I can't. I don't allow that memory very often in my head. It grosses me out to the ick factor of extreme. And I've seen a lot of ick factor stuff with the ETs, but that one does it. God. And I've seen it done as a little kid. I don't remember it so much as an adult. But yeah, it's a it's a film that is a protective layer that protects their eye. Oh God, I gotta get that out of my body. Yeah. Oh, gross. Ouch. Oh, and just making those movements hurts my back, but damn, that's gross. Sorry, guys. And I got the chills. This is so gross. Anyway, so my point is that it's a protective thing for their eyes. I don't remember what color. Oh, blue. Most of them have different colored eyes, not all of them, but the one that has the father figure feeling, body memory for me, the feeling of a father figure, the ET, the tall white, he has blue eyes. Their body is in the shape of a tall, skinny gray. They've got the sleeves or the covers over the eyes on the eyeball itself. His eyes are blue. Their body is actually kind of leathery. Pleathery is what it reminds me of. I don't know why. It's like it's not rough, but I can't classify it as soft either. But it reminds me of leather. And it's got these little I don't know how to describe it. It's like scallops, little scallops on them. But you only see that like if you're like that far away. I mean, maybe an inch far away. You're only going to see it if you're really freaking close to them, or even allowed to touch them. I have touched the legs. I have touched the arms, the hands, what we would call a wrist. And that was me as a little kid. I have those as memories as a little kid. But the skin is actually the palest of pale gray. But when you stand away from them, like if you're 6 feet, 10 feet, or farther away, they have this like almost lack of better term. There is no other terminology for the real color of their skin, but it's almost like they not effervesce. They have a. It looks white, but it's not, and it's kind of like an iridescent, but it's like it has a little bit of a glow to it, but I don't know how else to describe it. The best human word is iridescent. But it's when you get up close, it's not iridescent. Some of those tall grays have 3 fingers. Some of them have 4 fingers. I have seen, they're very few, some with 5 fingers, 5 digits, just like we do. But most of them are 4-fingered. Their feet and toes are very, very different. It's the long, skinny toes that freak me out. Fingers don't bother me, but the long, skinny toes, there's something about that just always has always gotten me. But some of those tall grays, the shapes of their heads can vary from individual to individual. They are as unique individually as we humans are in our own race, color. So their head shape, I mean, I've seen ones that have the body of the, how do I say that? Have the body of the tall whites, but the head shape is not necessarily that of a tall white gray. It's more along the lines of a reptilian. And as I understand it, that means that that specific ET is a hybrid, a crossbreed. What they have crossed him with, I don't know, don't care, don't give two shits. So, but yeah, that's some of the ET. But yeah, I've seen them do the splice and dice. I've been in the laboratories, what we would call a laboratory. They don't call it a laboratory, they call it something else. I don't remember the ET word. I've been around ET, multiple different ET languages, so I recognize different ET languages. I also recognize ET light, what's called ET light languages, or that is called light languages. I cannot speak it. I've never been able to speak it. I got told in 2019 and 2020, and real close. I'm gonna about another 3 minutes, and then I'm done. I got told by a Loborian, which is a form of a feline race. It's a form of a Lyran race. It's not a subspecies, but I don't know what else to call them. And there's this specific race is a shapeshifter. I've seen them shapeshift from a feline looking animal, very large. Oh my God, they're huge. Straight into a walking, talking, looking human. I've seen them shapeshift I've seen them shapeshift into, and their claws retract. Literally, they retract. They're really long claws, and their claws literally retract underneath the skin. It's just mind-bending to me. And paws, from paws to fingers, actual humanistic-looking fingers. I've seen them and human-looking head, but they're big. They're a big-looking human being. Very big, almost to the form of a giant, what we would call a giant, 9-10 feet tall, very, very big. And they're very protective. If you know one of them and they like you, you are really fortunate. You are very, very fortunate, and they will protect you with their life. Their age is completely, they could look like a 30-year-old, other than being sky high tall. They will have the appearance of somebody that looks like in their 30s, like 34, 36 years old. They're a couple thousand years old, folks. Age is a very, very different thing for them. But I've also seen them where they half shift. So they're covered in their fur, however long they want their fur, but they're still in human physical form. But their nose changes to the feline nose. Their mouth and eyes change to the feline, as do their ears, but their head shape, their shoulders, their torso, their legs, their arms, they're no longer paws, they are fingers, but they will be completely covered in fur. And the color and design of their fur, whatever, you know how, lack of better terminology, like a lion, or not a cougar, because a cougar is typically all one color, but like a lion or a puma or a a jaguar. They've got a really short fur, but they've got a pattern on their fur. And if you shave them, the skin is that pattern. Well, that pattern is on their fur. But they're walking, talking like a human being. Now, their feet are not human feet. I find this very fascinating. Their feet are very much as to what animal they are. They're a form of a paw more than a human foot, which I find fascinating because their hands and their fingers are humanistic looking. I still don't quite understand that, but anyway, and I'm way over my time. So, if you want to hear more, please hit the like button, subscribe. I try to be on once a week, no matter what is taking place in my life. Or if the government has shut me down, like happened for 7 months, finally got up and running again. So if you do have questions, put them in the comment section. I try to answer everybody. I can be reached on email at restorebelief2022@gmail.com. I can also be contacted. I am very, very, very selective about who my friends are on my friends list. I keep my friends list very small. But I can be contacted on Facebook Messenger. So it's facebook.com/Nikki, NIKKI, .Jacobs, JACOBS, .376. That's how I can be contacted. Or you can leave me a question in the comment section under the replay of this video or of this live broadcast, and I will respond to it in the best way that I can, or the best answer that I could give you at the time. Or if it's too involved of an answer, then I will probably request an email or some other way that I can get in contact with you, so that I can give you a more lengthy answer. On that note, it's 8:54 p.m. I'm technically 50. Yeah, no, not 52. 5, 10, 15, 22 minutes in beyond what I had anticipated. So anyway, I hope you have a very good week. I haven't figured out what days or evenings are going to work best yet. Now that I'm back up and doing this, I think this is my third or my fourth live broadcast since coming back on. But I will get that figured out again, because things change. So, as with life, things shift and change. So, take very good care of yourselves. I will let you guys know one way or another what day of the week, what evening, if it becomes an evening, what time frame I will be looking at, because this needs to be on a schedule. We need to get back into doing this again. And I know a lot of people have a lot of questions, and that's fine. I'm open to answering to the best of my ability that I can. I hope you take very good care of yourselves. For those that believe, God bless. For those that are into others, namaste. Take very good care of yourself, and remember, if you are an ET abductee, it is a process. You are not alone, and we can all come together and have conversations, safe conversations about these experiences. Take very good care, folks. Thank you for coming, for listening, for liking, and subscribing, and hopefully sharing out. Bye, guys. I will be on again next week. Bye, folks. And thank you for the love symbols. I appreciate that. Thank you. Bye, guys.